There are lots of ways to provide for your retirement cash flow needs, and which choices you make depends on some factors which, when combined, make up your unique outlook on this subject. In fact, I think there are 5 factors which apply to all of us, but to different degrees. And so my question to you is this: how would you score yourself for each of these 5 factors? Let's take a look. Hi, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Pete Matthew, and I'm a chartered financial planner based here in the UK. Now, the definition of a successful retirement is obviously different for each of us, but I think we can all agree on 2 things. Firstly, we don't want to run out of money before we die, but we do want to enjoy life to the full. And secondly, we don't want to be stressed out and anxious about money in our old age. And the decisions we make when we're setting up our retirement plans will determine the outcome on both of those points. So let's get into the factors. The first foundational factor is your need or desire for guarantees. Are you the kind of person who needs to know that there's a guaranteed useful amount of money coming in each month for the rest of your life? Or are you happy to wing it while knowing that you might run out of money potentially? Your need for guarantees will be influenced by any income sources that you've already got. So most of us will have the state pension, and yes, I think that it will still be there in some form for the foreseeable future, even if it might change form. Maybe you've got DB pension benefits from your employer or an old employment from years back. Do these income sources cover your necessary expenses? That's the minimum amount you need to spend each month to live. If not, what is the gap between your guaranteed income and that minimum spending level? What is the difference between your minimum standard of living and your ideal, desired standard of living? Maybe you can guarantee the minimum and the rest of your pot can fund the ideal. So let's try and come up with a score from 1 to 5, with 1 being that you don't think you need guarantees, and 5 being that you really do want to make sure that your needs are met each month without fail. Where do you sit on that scale? Write it down. The second factor is your ability and willingness to manage investments. If at one end of the spectrum we've got guaranteed income sources like DB pensions, annuities, and the state pension, at the other end, we have a finite pot of money which needs to fund your needs for the rest of your life. And to some degree, that pot of money will need investing and managing. Now, you can outsource that by choosing a kind of off-the-shelf, done-for-you investment proposition, or use a stockbroker or a discretionary fund manager. But maybe you like the idea of doing that management yourself. If you're responsible for the choice of the funds, that's a lot of responsibility on you. And you're still going to need to keep an eye on things for the rest of your life, even if it's only once or twice a year. You might need to make changes, or you might need to decide not to do anything, even when circumstances might suggest that you should. So are you comfortable making and sticking to those kinds of decisions? Are you new to this, or are you experienced? Have you been hands-on with your pension and your ISA money for decades? Or are you approaching retirement and are only now starting to understand investing and how it all works? Give yourself a score for your ability and willingness to manage a portfolio of investments on that scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being that you're a novice or unwilling, and 5 being that you can handle it, no sweat. Factor number 3 is your attitude towards an understanding of risk. Now, risk is a big old word, isn't it? It covers all aspects of our finances, but specifically here, I'm talking about the risk of losing money in your invested portfolio. Most of us understand that money which is invested goes up and down in value. But when it does go down, it can trigger all kinds of responses, sometimes really physical, visceral responses. 2022 was one of those years for many investors. We've had it so good for so long, and even the shock of the pandemic on markets was pretty quickly recovered from. But 2022 was difficult because traditionally more cautious asset classes like bonds really suffered. Now imagine you're in your 70s and you've got this finite pot of money that you're managing and you're relying on for your retirement cash flow needs. You can't or you don't want to work to add to it, and you're just watching it go down by 20, 25, 30%, maybe even more. How are you feeling? How much do you understand risk in all its different forms? Do you understand it on a theoretical level? Or have you experienced and weathered market storms before with no issues? Again, score yourself from 1 to 5, with 1 being that you're a cautious investor or you've got very little experience and understanding of risk, and 5 being that you've experienced market shocks before and held your ground. While you're thinking about that, and if this is useful so far, please take just 2 seconds to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. It really does help. Thank you. Just 2 more factors to go, and number 4 is your desire to leave a legacy for your family. How big a deal is this for you? Essentially, this is about not spending everything, but having some left when you die to leave to your beneficiaries or to give to them during your lifetime. Let's not worry too much about the mechanics of this for now. It's your intention that I'm interested in. Are you in the mold of, well, I never got anything from my parents, so I don't see why my kids should get anything from me? Or are you keen to give your kids a leg up, either with gifts while you're alive or after you've gone? Maybe it's bigger than that. Perhaps you've got a family member who is going to need providing for long after you've gone. Perhaps they've got special needs of some kind. Or maybe you just want to give or leave a boatload of money to your favorite charity. Again, score yourself from 1 to 5, with 1 being that you want to spend it all and to hell with the kids, and 5 being that you would want to provide as much as you can for those left behind. And finally, let's talk about factor number 5, your expectations of longevity. Of course, none of us know how long we're going to live, but countless times when I've been advising clients, they will make reference to their family history. So what's your family story when it comes to longevity? Is there a history that might suggest a kind of genetic predisposition to living a long time? Or is the opposite true? Are you a healthy person, or maybe not so much? You might want to bear in mind that longevity sounds like a good thing, but it can be expensive with potential care costs and, of course, the need for your investment pot to last longer. And don't forget that if there's 2 of you in a relationship, you should think about your longevity together if you can. How long till the second of you dies? Again, we'll never know this for sure, but if you had to grade your expectations of longevity on a scale from 1 to 5, with 1 being that you expect to die early, and 5 that you've got a pretty good chance of making it to 100, where would you put yourself? So you should now have 5 scores between 1 and 5 for your need for guarantees, your ability and willingness to manage investments, your attitude towards and understanding of risk, your desire to leave a legacy, and your expectations of longevity. Now I'm going to keep you hanging until next time to kind of bring this together in some way, but you can be thinking about this before then. For example, if you expect to live a long time, you might err towards considering a guaranteed income product of some kind to reduce the need for an invested portfolio to last. Food for thought? Thanks for watching this one, more coming soon, so subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and then you'll be notified when we upload next. And of course, drop a like for this video if it was useful. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.